Hi, this is Scott Garibay, and today we're going to talk about Dungeons & Dragons 5th Edition, and we're going to talk about the Russia-Ukraine situation and real fears that are bubbling up in America about combat lethality, right? And then, so I want to look at, combat lethality from the perspective of the Russia-Ukraine situation, specifically from one, specific American who has a concern, and then talk about combat lethality in Dungeons & Dragons 5th Edition and talk about our players. They have player characters on the ground, right? And how do we adjust lethality in a game? And how do we communicate to players that the lethality in a game, in a Dungeons & Dragons 5th Edition game has been adjusted, all right? So let's jump into this. All right, so man, this Russia-Ukraine thing, it is popping off, man. Like, this thing is getting hot fast, right? So basically, if you're a student of history, you're paying close attention to this, right? Because essentially the flow was, President Obama. I voted for him twice. I love President Obama, but he wasn't perfect. And when it came to Russia, he was a dove president, right? And Russia, they roll hard. Like, they don't play, right? And during President Obama's terms, Putin was like, wait, you a dove president, I can get land for dollars. And that's what the world, that's what, like, the world's strongmen are figuring out. They're like, oh, dove U.S. president, there ain't no other real superpower in the world going to do nothing, right? So if there's a dove president, I could snatch up this country, right? And get it for dollars. The question is, Russia roll hard, man. They want land, right? And in like 2014, the whole world was like, wait, did Russia just invade that place? And then, all through the news, and Putin was like, no, we didn't do that. 6 months later, we did that, and that's our land now, right? And I love President Obama, but he was a dove president, right? And not a hawk president, dove president, right? And frankly, tell me if I'm wrong, I think every Dem president is guaranteed to be a dove president, right? So Russia just sitting there and they're like, hey, dove president, what's the price of land, right? Well, here's the flow. Dove president, the price of land is $, okay? Hawk president, price of land is what the price of land has always been, blood, right? Blood, that's the price, all right? So if you ask Russia if they want land for dollars, that giving them a stern sanction warning is not going to do anything, right? Like, it's not a warning, it's an invitation. They're like, yes, we will take that land for your sanctioned dollars, like, done, deal, right? But if there's a hawk president, which generally going to be a Republican, they know you ain't gonna roll like that, right? Like, you got to step back, and anybody know taking no land on a hawk president's watch, right? But it's a problem the Dems have, and they can't, so Biden sees this, right? And he starts his, sanction squawk, and Putin like, whatever, like, and the talks were not going well, right? But Putin then Biden realized how bad this was looking, right? And how weak he was going to look if Russia just roll up on Ukraine and take it, right? Like, so there was talk, like yesterday, about 8,500 U.S. troops. What you need to put boots on the ground in a place, which is real action, right? That's how things stop. That's how the nonsense stops, right? He's like, we're putting 8,500 troops on alert. He didn't say we're shipping them. He's saying we're putting 8,500 troops on alert, right? Now, a U.S. soldier, you don't even need, like, frankly, anywhere in the world, you don't need 8,500 troops. You just need one, right? Because if one U.S. soldier drops, the whole world going to know it, right? We literally did not have a single MIA in 20 years of combat in Afghanistan. Afghanistan was the first war in history where there was not a single MIA. MIAs are finished, right? We know where every U.S. soldier is, and if they get a paper cut, the whole world going to know it. It's going to be on the Times, New York Times front page, name and all, right? And so Putin knows, like, so Biden's like, oh, hey, maybe it ain't a dollar price. Maybe it's the real price, which has been set for all of history, right? So, he put a little, sperm in his spine, right? Like, and you saying, hey, maybe you won't just roll, maybe you don't roll on me the way you rolled on Obama, right? And so, I was very impressed. I was very impressed with Biden, showing a little spine. I was like, wow, that's impressive, right? Well, Bo from the Fifth Column's got a great channel. He talked about this girl who had a boyfriend who is within that 8,500 soldier block, right? And so she went to her dad and she said, hey, they are putting my boyfriend on high alert. Is he in danger with this Russia-Ukraine thing, right? And her dad goes, no, you don't got to worry about this. Yes, there's 100,000, Putin troops over there, but everything you're seeing here, this is all Cold War action. This ain't a real war. This is just the press talking about a war, right? And, and so she walks away from that conversation with her dad, and she's like, are Cold Wars dangerous, right? And she actually asked Bo of Fifth Column, are Cold Wars dangerous? And he's like, yeah, like a lot of people died in Cold War action, right? Like Cold War it's not the Fuhrer of like, the meat grinder of like World War I, World War II, right? But it is definitely dangerous. And so the reality is your boyfriend absolutely could be looking at a high lethality situation if he gets sent over there. And the reason why is that's 8,500 U.S. troops and whatever Ukraine's going to be able to muster, right? But there are 100,000 Russian troops, and they are well armed, right? And in addition to that, guess what's in the middle of Ukraine, and which looks like it's going to be a target if Russia rolls in? Literally Chernobyl, okay? So you got action, right, happening between U.S. troops. You have the possibility of action happening between U.S. troops allied with Ukrainian troops against Russian troops in the most radioactive place on the planet, right? Like, so trust and believe, Russia well armed and they roll hard. America, we do not play. Like we send troops, man. You can bet there's going to be some hardware on the ground, right? So the reality is you have this whole thing brewing, right? And Bo from the Fifth Column told her straight up, yeah, your boyfriend moving into a hard lethal situation. This ain't, and your dad's right, this does look like a Cold War, but there's spikes of lethality in Cold War, right? So the reality is, and I thought this was a really good question, and Bo was honest with her, and she got a real answer. And I'm a father, I got daughters, right? You don't want to tell them, oh, your boyfriend gonna die, like you don't want to say that, right? Like, so he really wasn't, her dad was not a good person to ask the question, right? Because he got just too much at stake. He loved her too much, right? But Bo from the Fifth Column, he's like, I know about this situation. Here's the deal. Here's the real answer, right? Very, very interesting, right? So, when, in Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition, this preeminent best version of Dungeons & Dragons, because not only does Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition have every single lesson from 1E, 2E, 3E, 4E rolled into it, but it's also the now version that deals with now culture, right? It's not used to avoid cultural questions. It's Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition is used to run headlong from the design level into today's cultural issues, right? So if we are going to adjust lethality, because we're seeing, a week ago, this girl's boyfriend was like was positioned in North Carolina, right? 1 week from now, he could have an M16 in the middle of Chernobyl, right? Like that is a massive change in lethality, right? So if we decide to ratchet up the lethality in Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition, so first of all, you can you could do it. The hardest place to do it is in a current campaign, and I'm going to tell you how. So, one, all you need to do, right, is do your challenge rating calculations. You take your number of players, determine, what the combat challenge rating should be, right? The cumulative challenge rating, right? Then set that challenge, and then so you're going to get, I need to put in challenge rating 4 monsters, right? Well, all you need to do is +3. Just take it and add +3 to the challenge rating. Go from a challenge rating 4 to a challenge rating 7. Okay, so that's how you. So, and a lot of people complain. They say, "Oh, Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition isn't dangerous." When somebody says that, you're just saying I'm bad at math, or like, and I don't know about page 4 of the Dungeon Master Guide. The rules aren't in charge, you're in charge, right? So we can adjust challenge rating. That's all it takes to raise the lethality very considerably in Dungeons and Dragons, right? Just a +3 on the challenge rating. That's all you need, right? Now you do this, right? And you're not going to tell your players, "Hey, I'm adjusting the lethality of this game," right? What you want to do is you want to show them in 2 separate ways. One, you want to warn them, right? So basically, you want to put a dark moon in the sky, right? Or actually, you want to take the moon out of the sky, right? So, the way you do this is you're like, you tell your player characters, you guys, you realize it's a new moon, right? You don't see the moon in the sky, right? The next day you're like, okay, now 3 days later, you should be going into, a gibbous moon, and you do not see the moon in the sky. And so so one of your player characters on watch, and you say, "Hey, you don't see the moon in the sky," right? And they're like, "What?" Or like, and then you're like, and then the moon don't come, right? Like, the sun rolls out, but the moon does not show, right? There's no light from it. It's dark every night, right? And right there, and the player character's gonna be like, "What happened?" And and what you want to do is you want to start set in place, right? Like, cultists will start becoming more aggressive, and and there needs to be some overarching thing that has fundamentally changed the world and made it darker. And the first thing you're doing is you're just telling them, "Hey, the world is literally darker," right? Then what you want to do is you want to set up your next quest, okay? But the way okay, so you've told them, "Hey, the world is more dangerous now. Something is happening," right? So then what you want to do is you want to give them their next quest, right? So they quest up, but this time, when they're at the tavern and they get their quest, you're going to attach another adventuring group with them. So their player characters, their adventurers, you want them to link up with, one of them was in an adventuring party before, and now that adventuring party is right there, and you're like, "Hey, let's all go complete this quest together." And actually, the non-player character adventure group are like, "Hey, can we go with you? Let us help you." And the one person who knew the other, the player character is like, "I really owe, you saved my life twice. Let us help you with this. We'll take a third of the cut. You guys can have, 2/3. And so they're like, "We'll aid you," right? So you go out. Don't even let them get to the quest, right? They go through the forest, and dire wolves come, right? Now again, if the correct amount of dire wolves is 4, you're going to put 7, or actually whatever the challenge rating equivalent is, to a +3 on these the number of dire wolves, ramp it up, right? And you really want to overwhelm them. And what you want to do is just take those dire wolves and kill at least half of that player character group immediately. Don't even have them bother with, don't have the dire wolves. Have the dire wolves snap at their heels. Give them a hit. Take maybe a third of their hit points, but have the dire wolves focus specifically on this crew and wreck them. Just shred them, right? And just show them viscerally, these guys are just like you, right? In fact, they're 2 to 4 levels higher than you and have better magical items, and they just got shredded, right? So you want to tell them, and you want to show them, right? And and at that point, when they go to the next tavern, they should learn, like the adventuring groups there, or a bard, a bard who serves, that'd be even better. A bard who serves there, who actually was scheduled to be there, isn't there and is missing. Like, you want to give them a lot of clues that their world just got way darker and way more lethal. And it's very, very important that you kill NPCs in front of them viscerally, very directly, right? To show and make it very clear these adventures are exactly like you. 2 to 4 levels higher than you and with better magic items, and they just got shredded, right? And so and this should prompt your player characters that they need to be on point, right? Whatever friction between them as player characters got to disappear. They need to be one, they have to have unity within their group. And in addition to that, they really seriously need to be getting, making sure their potions of healing are set, making sure that their cleric is very devout and ready to cast, right? And if they don't got a cleric, they better hire one. And the other thing is followers and sidekicks, right? Sidekicks specifically are best, right? You want to start attaching additional, non-player characters to absorb some of this more lethality that you're putting into your game. So I'm really hoping that this whole situation with Russia, that I hope we do not need to put boots on the ground in Russia or in Ukraine, right? Like that is going to be a real problem. I am really shocked that a Demdov president even mentioned the possibility. Shocked, right? But it's good to know we got a president with a little bit of firmness in his spine. That's not. And also I'm really shocked. Like Biden was like, Putin just rolled on Obama like he was nothing. It was like, yeah, we did that. We took that country. Like that's ours now. Or and it was embarrassed. It was a massive embarrassment for a country. And I am shocked that Biden I ain't letting that happen, right? Or at least showing some signs that there could be a possibility America going to do what it's going to do, right? You can't roll on a hawk president, on a dove president, right? All the time, right? Because that's why we're here. Russia's like, we already got this done once. We can definitely get it done again. So we live in a harsh, dangerous world, right? And we, as dungeon masters, have the responsibility to adjust the lethality in our games to what is necessary to keep our players engaged, right? That's how you get it done, and that's how you warn your players so they don't end up mulch. All right, all that's my opinion. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Let me know in the comments below. Please consider liking and subscribing, and have a wonderful millennium.